This is video number 96, and the title is Perthe disease. One afternoon while giving Dennis a bath, I noticed that when he walked, he kind of looped his leg when going forward. That didn't look right. I showed him how to walk heel-toe on a seam in the floor. He could not do it. When Louise got home, I told her what I discovered. Next day, she took him to our family doctor in Laceyville. He agreed something was not right and called a specialist in Scranton. Louise took him right down. When I got home from day shift, she and Dennis had also returned home, and Dennis had crutches. She told me what Perthe's disease was. I recently looked it up to refresh my knowledge, as Dennis was 4 years old when we discovered this problem. He's about 46 now. The term disease is kind of a misnomer. It is more of an anomaly. The blood vessel to the ball stops functioning, and the ball gets soft and disintegrates for a time. The blood vessel rejuvenates and starts to resupply the ball again. It will heal like a broken bone where a small lump develops, sealing the parts together. This may cycle a few times in the child's first 12 years. Crutches were recommended. I wondered about that. I watched Dennis for a few days. I caught him running with his crutches when coming home from his friend. He was whipping them around like two windmills as he ran up the street. Just letting his leg hang using crutches really made no sense to me. If the ball was getting soft, supporting hanging weight would aggravate it. Louise and I talked, and she called the family doctor and told him we wanted another opinion. He got us an appointment at the Children's Hospital section of the Geisinger Hospital in Danville, Pennsylvania. We took Dennis to his appointment with Dr. Heath. He was an older man, probably in his late 50s or so. They tested Dennis for a couple hours and verified that he did indeed have Perthe disease. Dr. Heath asked what the other specialist recommended. We told him just crutches. He gave us the same look I had when I heard it. There were actually two options for us to consider. The first option was to put Dennis in a body cast from his diaphragm to his toes with a 2x4 molded into it to keep his legs spread, thus holding the ball in place. If we elected to go with this option, he would be in a cast until he was 12, when the cycling usually has run its course. That would be 8 years in a cast. As I have just read, the result would be the affected leg being smaller in muscle development and usually shorter than the other leg, requiring the child to wear a build-up shoe the rest of his or her life. Some children get it in both hips, Dennis only in one. It affects about 8 in a million kids. There is no history of this at all on either side of the family. The section option was an operation. The doctors would rework the blood supply, remove the soft bone, and pin his hip in place. Dennis would be in that body cast and 2x4 set up for about 2 months. It was felt that because he was so young that the hip bone may rejuvenate back to normal or near normal shape. They estimated that after a couple of weeks of therapy to learn to walk again, he would have 95 to 97% normal use. 2 months in a cast versus 8 years? For us, it was an easy decision. This way Dennis would not be robbed of a normal childhood. He'd be able to run and climb and play sports and swim, etc. We went for the operation. Dennis had to travel by ambulance back and forth to Danville every week for the first 2 months. That 2x4 setup made him too wide to fit in the car. It's a good thing he was only 5. With that cast, he weighed about 100 pounds. The only way I could move him was put my arms under him like a fork truck and lift. The hospital was about 80 miles south of us. The cast came off and Louise stayed with him at the hospital during rehab. He wrestled, played ball and soccer. We put in a 16 by 32 foot in-ground pool. The pool was 10 feet from the side of the garage. I've since learned that he and Brian used to climb up on the garage roof and run and jump into the pool. Of course, when nobody was looking. It's amazing what you hear when they get reminiscing and I'm just listening in the next room. Louise and I ran into a couple with a young boy with Perthes. We knew it as soon as we saw the 2x4 set up. They had a special stroller to take him around. We talked to them about it. They were only given the cast and brace option. We advised them to call Dr. Heath and talk with him for another option. Dennis was with us at the time. You could actually see the hope developing on their faces. I don't know how things turned out for them, but we learned a valuable lesson. When you're young, you think your teachers know all there is to know about the sciences they teach, etc. The same goes for doctors. You tend to think he or she knows all there is regarding a specific subject. If a graduating class of teachers or doctors is said to have 300 in the class, the top student may have graduated with a 4.0 grade average, and 300 student may have just gotten by with some good guesses. With all the information available today, it's important to do your own research. When you go to the doctor, you may be able to tell whether you got the one with the 4.0 or the one who made good guesses. Remember, that plaque on the wall in both offices says doctor. There are a lot of nasty things that can jump on you. We never know what or when, but hope for the best, especially for our kids. Going for the operation for Dennis was at least one right decision Louise and I made. Well, folks, that ends my little story on Perthe disease. As always, I wish everyone all the best.